The Skethan assassins arrived on Earth with an air of quiet confidence. They had spent centuries perfecting their craft, eliminating targets across galaxies with precision and cold efficiency. Their reputation was legendary. No being, no matter how advanced or powerful, had ever survived a Skethan mission. To them, humanity was just another assignment, a troublesome species flagged for elimination due to their growing influence and unpredictable nature. Their infiltration was flawless, their ships cloaked by technology far beyond anything Earth had ever imagined. They landed unnoticed, their presence obscured by their mastery of stealth. The mission was simple: target key leaders and destabilize human society from within. Resistance, they believed, would be minimal. Humans, after all, were a young species, barely scratching the surface of interstellar knowledge. The Skethan considered this operation a routine task, beneath their expertise but necessary for galactic stability. The first target was a human diplomat, a figurehead in global relations, chosen not for their military significance, but for their ability to inspire unity among nations. The Skethan operatives, clad in their advanced combat suits, moved with calculated precision through the shadows. Their weaponry, designed to neutralize any life form at a molecular level, hummed faintly as they approached their unsuspecting target. The assassin aimed and fired, a burst of energy surging toward the human's form. But instead of collapsing as expected, the diplomat turned, startled but unharmed. The energy dissipated harmlessly, leaving no trace on the target or their surroundings. The Skethan operative paused, recalibrating their weapon and firing again. The same result, nothing. The human looked around, confused but seemingly unaffected. Reports of the failure reached the Skethan command unit within moments. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Their weapons, tested on countless worlds, had never failed. The Skethan prided themselves on their technology, on their ability to overcome any obstacle with sheer precision. Yet here, on this unremarkable planet, their tools of destruction were rendered useless. The command unit ordered a second attempt, this time using biochemical agents. A toxin was released into the ventilation system of a human settlement, designed to incapacitate every living organism within minutes. The Skethan watched from a distance, expecting to see chaos unfold. Instead, humans continued their routines, oblivious to the attack. The toxin, like their energy weapons, had no effect. Panic began to creep into the Skethan ranks, a sensation unfamiliar and deeply unsettling. They had never encountered resistance like this, not from technology, nor biology, nor even raw luck. Humans were supposed to be vulnerable, yet they moved through life as though the Skethan weren't even there. It wasn't defiance. It was ignorance of their presence, and that ignorance stung more than open resistance. The assassins regrouped, poring over their data. Every scan and analysis indicated that their equipment was functioning perfectly. The weapons were calibrated, the toxins were pure, and the methods were flawless. There was no logical explanation for their failure. Humanity, as far as the Skethan could discern, was ordinary. Their physiology was unremarkable, their technology primitive. Yet something protected them, something the Skethan could neither see nor comprehend. As they continued their mission, the pattern repeated itself. Attempts to eliminate political leaders, scientists, and military officials all ended in failure. The assassins remained undetected, their efforts unnoticed by their targets. Each failed attempt chipped away at their confidence, turning a once routine mission into a maddening enigma. The Skethan operatives began to observe humans more closely, hoping to find some clue, some weakness they had overlooked. They infiltrated human gatherings, blending into shadows to watch their interactions. What they saw only deepened their confusion. Humans were chaotic, emotional, and unpredictable. They argued over trivial matters, laughed in the face of hardship, and displayed a level of resilience the Skethan had never encountered. It wasn't just their immunity to attacks that unsettled the assassins. It was their spirit. Humans didn't merely survive, they thrived, even in the most adverse conditions. Their capacity for hope and determination seemed boundless, and their willingness to adapt to any challenge was unmatched. The Skethan began to question their mission. Humanity was not what they had been led to believe. They were not fragile or weak. They were something else entirely, something the Skethan had no framework to understand. The assassins, who had always relied on logic and efficiency, found themselves grappling with emotions they couldn't name. Their mission logs, once meticulous and precise, grew chaotic as operatives struggled to explain their experiences. Some described humans as anomalies, beings who defied the natural order. Others speculated that humanity possessed an unknown force, a kind of universal immunity that shielded them from external threats. The Skethan leadership dismissed these theories as superstition, but the evidence was undeniable. Humans were immune to their attacks, and the assassins could find no explanation. For the first time in their history, the Skethan faced the possibility of failure, not because their targets resisted, but because they simply couldn't be harmed. As days turned into weeks, the assassins found themselves at an impasse. Their weapons were useless, their strategies ineffective. Humanity, oblivious to their presence, continued to thrive. The Skethan, once feared across galaxies, were powerless against this unassuming species. Their mission was no longer about elimination. It had become a quest for understanding. What made humans different? Why were they immune? The answers remained elusive, and the Skethan, for all their intelligence and technology, were left in the dark. The Skethan operatives shifted their approach. Instead of attacking directly, they turned to observation and study. They infiltrated human society, moving unnoticed among the population. Cloaked in invisibility and equipped with advanced sensory tools, they embedded themselves in cities, towns, and rural areas, hoping to unravel the mystery of human immunity. The first thing they noted was humanity's diversity. No two humans were exactly alike. They varied in language, culture, appearance, and behavior. This diversity created an adaptability that the Skethan had never encountered. Where other species conformed to rigid societal structures, humans thrived on individuality. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and yet, somehow it worked. Their studies revealed another anomaly. Humans possessed an extraordinary ability to recover from adversity. Physical injuries that would cripple or kill other species were often survivable for humans. Emotional setbacks, social conflicts, and even catastrophic events seemed to strengthen them rather than destroy them. The Skethan had never encountered such resilience. This adaptability extended to their technological and scientific endeavors. Humanity's technology, though primitive by Skethan standards, was remarkably versatile. Humans repurposed tools, experimented with new ideas, and built upon past failures with relentless determination. What they lacked in precision, they made up for with creativity and resourcefulness. The Skethan infiltrators began to focus on human interactions, hoping to uncover a clue in their social dynamics. What they observed defied logic. Humans formed bonds not just for survival, but for emotional and intellectual connection. They shared knowledge freely, collaborated across borders, and created alliances that transcended their differences. This cooperative nature was baffling to the Skethan, whose own society was built on rigid hierarchy and individual achievement. More intriguing was humanity's response to conflict. Humans argued, debated, and sometimes fought, but these conflicts often led to growth and innovation. Disagreements sparked new ideas, and failures became opportunities for learning. This capacity to turn setbacks into advantages was unlike anything the Skethan had seen in other species. As they delved deeper into human culture, the operatives encountered an even greater mystery: the concept of belief. Humans placed immense value on ideas that couldn't be quantified or measured. They believed in justice, freedom, love, and hope, abstract concepts that seemed to defy logic. Yet these beliefs drove them to achieve the impossible, to persevere in the face of overwhelming odds. The Skethan operatives were particularly struck by humanity's relationship with mortality. Unlike most species, which avoided the topic or faced it with resignation, humans embraced the inevitability of death as a part of life. This acceptance fueled their drive to create, to leave a legacy, and to make their limited time meaningful. It was a mindset the Skethan could not comprehend, and yet it seemed to be a core aspect of human resilience. Despite their advanced sensory tools, the Skethin could not detect any physical mechanism behind humanity's immunity to their attacks. Their bodies were unremarkable, their biology vulnerable to the same diseases and injuries as other species. Yet something intangible protected them, something beyond the Skethin's understanding. The Skethin began to question their own assumptions. They had always believed that strength came from technology, strategy, and physical superiority. But humans challenged this belief. Their strength was not in their bodies or their tools, but in their minds and hearts. It was a strength that could not be measured, replicated, or defeated. The operatives' reports back to their command unit grew increasingly fragmented. Some described humans as a paradox, a species that defied the natural order. Others speculated that humanity's immunity was the result of some unknown force, perhaps even a form of universal balance. Whatever the explanation, one thing was clear: humanity was not what the Skethin had expected. As the weeks passed, the operatives found themselves drawn to the very qualities that baffled them. They watched humans celebrate, mourn, and persevere. They witnessed acts of kindness and courage, moments of triumph and tragedy. The Skethin, who had always viewed other species as targets or obstacles, began to see humanity as something else entirely. The operatives debated their next move. Some argued for retreat, believing the mission to be futile. Others insisted on continuing, driven by a desire to understand. But all agreed on one thing: humanity was a mystery they could not solve. Their immunity was not just a biological anomaly, but a reflection of something deeper, something that set them apart from every other species in the galaxy. For the first time in their history, the Skethin assassins faced an enemy they could not defeat. It was not because of superior technology or military strength, but because of an unquantifiable force that defied their logic. Humanity's resilience, adaptability, and capacity for belief made them immune not just to physical attacks, but to the very idea of defeat. The Skethin command unit was growing impatient. Reports from the operatives lacked clear conclusions, filled instead with contradictions and speculation. The assassins were not behaving as expected. Their efficiency was eroding, their precision dulled by something no mission had ever induced: uncertainty. Their failure to eliminate a single human target was unacceptable. A higher-ranked unit was dispatched, their mission clear: complete the objective at all costs and, if necessary, retrieve their wayward operatives for reassessment. The reinforcements arrived with the cold discipline expected of Skethin elites. They reviewed the mission logs, dismissing the confusion of their predecessors as incompetence. They had no time for theories about human unpredictability or abstract strengths. Their plan was straightforward: escalate the tactics, deploy more advanced weaponry, and target larger populations if necessary. Their approach would be systematic, thorough, and merciless. They selected a military base as their first target, believing that if humans had developed some form of countermeasure against assassination, their highest-tier defense structures would provide evidence of it. The Skethin launched a direct strike, unleashing weapons that had disintegrated entire war fleets in past conflicts. Massive energy bursts rained down upon the facility, tearing through concrete and steel. Smoke and fire engulfed the landscape. By all accounts, nothing should have survived. But the humans emerged unscathed. Their bodies were whole, their movements steady. They looked at the destruction around them, not with fear, but with determination. They assessed the damage, barked orders, and coordinated responses. The weapons had no effect on them, but that wasn't what disturbed the Skethin most. It was the way the humans reacted. There was no panic, no hesitation. They were already adapting, already moving forward, as if the attack had been nothing more than an inconvenience. The elite unit hesitated. This was beyond any tactical failure they had encountered. They hadn't just failed to eliminate their targets, they had failed to even slow them down. The previous operatives' reports, once dismissed as exaggeration, now seemed painfully accurate. The humans weren't merely immune. They were indifferent to the attacks. That indifference was unsettling. The Skethin had fought species with superior technology, with genetic enhancements, with impenetrable defenses. But none of those had acted as if an assassination attempt was something to be brushed aside. A shift began within the Skethan ranks. A mission that had once been about extermination had become an investigation. Their leaders demanded answers, not just results. The operatives were ordered to study humans at a deeper level, to understand what force made them untouchable. The more they observed, the more their understanding crumbled. Humanity was not physically indestructible. Their medical data proved they were as susceptible to injury and disease as any other species. They were not equipped with advanced shielding or countermeasures. Their technology, though impressive for their level of development, was incapable of interfering with Skethan weaponry. Yet they survived. More than that, they continued to push forward, improving, innovating, and resisting. The Skethan could not comprehend the source of this resilience. It defied logic, ignored science, and shattered their perception of how lifeforms operated. Some of the assassins began questioning their purpose. They had been taught that strength determined survival, that power was the only metric of success. But humans had rewritten that rule. Their power was not in their weapons or their physical forms, but in their ability to endure, to learn, and to connect. The presence of the reinforcements only deepened the divide between the Skethan operatives. Some remained loyal to their mission, insisting that there must be a way to break humanity's defenses. Others had begun to doubt the very foundation of their beliefs. If humanity could not be destroyed, then perhaps they were not meant to be eliminated at all. As internal tensions rose, the Skethan leaders faced an unthinkable possibility. They might have encountered a force they could not control. They had spent their existence eliminating threats, ensuring their dominance through calculated precision. But humanity was not a threat that could be eliminated. They were something else entirely. The mission, once so clear-cut, had spiraled into something beyond anyone's expectations. The Skethan had come to Earth to erase humanity from existence. Instead, they had uncovered a species that challenged everything they knew about survival, power, and what it truly meant to be unstoppable. The Skethan High Command received an urgent transmission from their operatives on Earth. The mission had gone beyond failure, it had become an impossibility. Every attempt to eliminate human targets had failed without reason. No countermeasures, no energy fields, no technological barriers, just pure, inexplicable immunity. The assassins were now at a crossroads. Their belief in their own superiority had been dismantled, piece by piece, by a species that didn't even know they were being hunted. The elite enforcers, who had arrived to correct the failures of the first operatives, found themselves experiencing the same futility. No matter the method, the result was the same. Their weapons passed through humans like light through a shadow. Their biochemical agents evaporated as if they had never existed. Even direct physical confrontations ended in confusion. Humans didn't even react to an assassin's presence, as if they were nothing more than an illusion. The Skethan were not used to defeat, and they were certainly not used to being ignored. This wasn't resistance. It wasn't war. It was something far worse, irrelevance. Humans weren't immune because of technology or superior physiology. They were immune because, on some fundamental level, the universe simply refused to acknowledge the Skethan as a threat to them. The implications of this realization were staggering. The Skethan had built their empire on fear. They had ruled through precision, eliminating enemies before they could rise against them. But here was a species that was beyond their reach. A species that existed outside of their power. It was as if nature itself had decided that humans could not be touched. The assassins withdrew into the shadows, no longer attempting to complete their mission, but instead trying to understand what had gone wrong. They observed humanity with a new perspective. The humans didn't act like an untouchable species. They weren't aware of their own immunity. They still feared, still fought, still struggled. They suffered losses, endured pain, and faced hardships like any other race. And yet, despite all of this, they always moved forward. Some of the operatives, those most deeply shaken by what they had witnessed, came to a conclusion that no Skethan had ever dared consider. Perhaps humans could not be eliminated because they were never meant to be. Maybe their very nature, their relentless drive, their defiance of impossible odds, their refusal to break, made them something different, something the universe itself had chosen to protect. Debates erupted within the ranks. Some refused to accept the idea. The Skethan had always believed themselves to be the ultimate predators. But what did it mean if an entire species existed outside their reach? It was not just a failure, it was an existential crisis. If they could not enforce their will upon humanity, then what was left of their purpose? Others saw it differently. They had spent their existence removing threats, but humans were not like any enemy they had encountered before. Perhaps they were not meant to be enemies at all. Perhaps their immunity was not an act of defiance, but a sign that they were on a different path entirely. The Skethan High Command, unable to justify continued losses with no results, made the decision to abandon the mission. The assassins were recalled, their presence erased as if they had never been there. The humans, oblivious to the danger that had once lurked in their shadows, went on with their lives. The Skethan left without a single casualty inflicted on their targets, without a single victory to claim. But the ones who had spent time among humans, who had watched them, learned from them, and failed to harm them, carried something back with them, questions they could not answer. If power was not what determined dominance, then what did? If a species like humanity could defy extinction not with weapons, but with sheer force of will, then what truly made a race superior? For the first time in Skethan history, they had encountered a force they could not conquer. And for the first time, they wondered if they had been measuring strength the wrong way all along.